78-year-old that killed a family of 4 by crashing into them at a bus stop will likely face no prison time. This is a particularly infuriating situation because I don't think it's disputed at all that she was operating the vehicle and therefore responsible for the deaths of the 2 parents and young children. But the judge was kind of like, well, she's old, and a long time ago her husband died in a car crash, so she's really sad, I'm gonna give her probation, not even community service. The driver, Mary Fong Lau, is also accused of transferring and selling millions of dollars in real estate assets to avoid having to pay them to the victim's family in civil penalties. The victims' families say that within a month of them filing a wrongful death lawsuit against Lau, that she was transferring properties to other LLCs that she owns and also to her son. Diego Cardoso de Oliveira and his wife Matilde Ramos Pinto, as well as their 2 young children, a toddler and a 3-month-old, were waiting for the bus to go to the San Francisco Zoo in March of 2024. Investigators say Lau, who was 78 at the time of the crash, was speeding at over 70 miles per hour in a residential area. They say that she veered into oncoming traffic at high speeds, crashed into the bus stop, immediately killing Diego and his oldest son. And later in the hospital, his wife and infant child would succumb to their injuries as well. Lau was initially charged with 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter. At first, she pled not guilty to all the counts, but this past Friday, which is nearly 2 years after the collision, she changed her plea to no contest. Basically, a no contest plea allows a defendant to accept a conviction without admitting to or disputing the charges against them. The court can sentence her as if she was guilty, but she doesn't have to admit that she was guilty. The judge presiding over the case, Bruce Chan, has indicated that he's going to sentence Lau to 2 to 3 years of probation, during which she will not be allowed to drive. He said that the loss of life is incomprehensible, but he has to balance the other factors of the case. He said that he had to consider Lau's age and her lack of criminal history, as well as the fact that her husband had died from a car crash early in their marriage. Why somebody's partner dying of the crime that you're accused of would impact a sentencing, I literally could not tell you. This sounds like a bunch of hooey to me. The judge said that in the hospital after the crash, Lau tearfully told medical staff that she wished she could trade places with the family. Well, you can't because you killed them, ma'am. Mrs. Lau is going to spend the rest of her days living with the knowledge of the harm she has caused to others. Imposing prison time on Lau would be sentencing her to die within the state prison system. And the ADA that's prosecuting this case has objected to the judge allowing her to plead no contest instead of guilty, and also objected to the indication that she would get 2 to 3 years of probation instead of a more meaningful sentence like home detention or community service. And family members of the victims also pleaded with the judge, echoing the ADA's sentiments, saying at least confine her to her home and take away her driver's license. This whole probation and then she could get her license back thing is crazy. Diego's sister told the judge it feels like the families have no rights. She says she feels deeply disrespected by the process, and this doesn't feel like justice. Relatives of the victims filed a wrongful death suit against Lau. On the 11th, they filed their wrongful death action. On the 30th, the felony charges were brought against Lau. And then on the 8th of August, defendant Lau recorded the following property transfers. This over $1.5 million home, and another one, and this third property, which I think is commercial and I couldn't find a listing for it. Also, just to be so clear, a Zillow estimate is just that. It's an estimate based on like comps and things like that. You cannot rely on this to be 100% accurate, but it's like gonna be roughly within the range-ish. And for all of those properties, she declared under penalty of perjury that the grantors and grantees in the conveyance are comprised of the same parties who continue to hold the same proportionate interest in the property. Essentially that she's transferring it from herself to these various LLCs that she also owns to essentially shield them from any civil liabilities that she will face. It is not working for me that the judge is saying, oh, she is so remorseful, she's going to be thinking about this for the rest of her life. But during all of this remorse, she's busy thinking about protecting her assets and maintaining her wealth. James Quadra, who is the attorney for the victim's relatives, said that a no contest plea avoids moral accountability that this case demands. What happened was not a minor mistake. Miss Lau drove at an extreme rate of speed through a residential neighborhood and wiped out an entire young family who were simply waiting for a bus. They were just being a cute family who wanted to go to the zoo. Age cannot become a shield against meaningful consequences when the conduct constitutes gross negligence and results in catastrophic loss. If we're going to decide as a society that at a specific age you become old enough that if you hit somebody with a vehicle, it's no longer your fault, then that age also needs to be the age where we start taking driver's licenses away from people. We cannot have it both ways where there is leniency for senior age but then not have mandatory like driver's license renewals, etc. No accountability. Something has to give, or this is going to keep happening. Something very similar to this actually happened at the beginning of this month. It wasn't even 2 weeks ago that a 92-year-old crashed into the 99 Ranch Market in Los Angeles. The driver had clipped a bicyclist with her car about a block away and then crashed into this business, killing 3 people and injuring 6 more. As far as I know, there have been no charges filed for this driver yet, though the license was taken away. Lau will be formally sentenced at an upcoming hearing, and we can only hope that in the time between now and that hearing, that the judge reconsiders his position on giving her probation. Home detention and community service doesn't even seem like enough, but the family would at least be okay with that, so come on. And also, that civil court better put back all that money so these families can come take it from her. That's all I know about this. Love you guys. Drink water. Bye.